Hello there! Happy Lunar New Year. I'm wearing red to celebrate. It also happens to be Valentine's Day this Wednesday, so go figure, this double whammy. This episode, I thought I would talk about something very relevant to what I went through the last week, which was scrambling to publish my book, which was a memoir I've had the idea for years and had always procrastinated on. And then this year I was like, oh shoot, it's dragon year. This is a great time to release it because I'm a dragon. And if not this year, I'd probably put it off for another 12 years. So that actually was the motivation for me to finally get it out of my brain and my heart and onto paper. Or there's a paperback version, a hardcover, and a Kindle version. But this also was pretty stressful, hence all the breakouts and lack of sleep. My gosh, because it essentially, I wrote it in probably a week total. I started it finally last month and churned out the first four chapters in one sitting and then took a break. I guess I did have an outline from a year ago, I think, that I loosely followed. And then, anyways, but it was just so much scrambling in the last week. Oh, and I figured I could make that episode relevant and speak about how you can beat your own procrastination and finally birth an idea that has been in your heart for so long, or at least to attempt to give it life. And again, I was finding myself getting really held back by perfectionism and fear of what people will think. Will it be crap? Will it upset or offend anyone? All of these things. And I went through this whole roller coaster that I'm happy to share a little bit about. But yeah, it really has been such a journey. And yeah, just everything that we attempt, especially I think the more authentic it is to us, the truer it is to us. A lot of times fears will come up, fears that are uniquely related to what we've gone through, our traumas, and just everything. So, yes. Um, so I'll just share a bit more first and then end with some practical tips on how you can get over procrastination and all the other reasons that hold you back as well. So, as I mentioned, there was just a lot to this memoir idea. I really wanted to talk about my whole journey in a more bird's eye, comprehensive way. I know I've shared bits and pieces on my blog, but I've never really bothered to try to summarize it all. And also to make it practical, I included a bunch of exercises, practical exercises, activities, and journaling prompts and diagrams even in the book for people to try out and work through if they also struggled with coming from a high pressure background, being groomed to be a high achiever, and developing likely a harsh inner critic on yourself, especially if you've had overbearing, strict, harsh, critical, or tiger parents. But that's not limited to Asian culture. It's really so many people I've spoken to have had similar experiences. Children of immigrants, people from certain backgrounds and cultures, where they really feel like they have to prove themselves. So this is really for you, this book. And I just wanted to really make sense of everything. But I think a big thing that held me back was that fear of, is this even, do people want this, or is this even good enough? And is it enough to just create this for my own self-expression? Or is that just selfish and a waste of time? And I really just had to work through so many of these excuses. And I also was putting it off too, because I feel like I don't have that, perfect, happy ending where everything's all nice and neat and wrapped up in a bow. I'm not making a ton of money as an entrepreneur. I'm not really able, like, did I fully quit medicine? I think I'm still keeping it around as a backup option, to be honest, because it is something that I feel like it's this crutch that gives me a sense of security in case something happens, especially in the US, where you might need to pay like 50,000 US dollars if you need an emergency surgery, such as if your appendix part of your intestine gets inflamed and you need it taken out by surgery, that's 50,000, I heard, which is so crazy. And being self-employed, I don't have the best health insurance. But anyways, it's just kind of one of those things that I felt like if everything hit the fan, I at least have this skill I can fall back on if needed. I mean, I'm so thankful that I am making enough to live on and even maintain savings with my business and my passion work and my artwork and just everything else. I am so, so grateful. But I guess it's still in this sort of incomplete state because it's not really recognized still by my family, because it's not making enough, like not making enough to really comfortably live. Like I still live in a pretty frugal lifestyle, and I'm plenty happy with a more simplistic, minimalistic lifestyle. But I know that I do want to have more just in case something happens, and I want more so I can be more generous with people I love and also give to charities and organizations and all these other projects. So I could really amplify what it is, the change that I want to bring to the world. And I know that I'm giving my time and my energy in so many ways, and I'm volunteering abroad, and it's been really, really meaningful and fulfilling. But I'd also like to be able to have more resources to start those mental health shelters I might have mentioned, just those holistic healing havens where people can go, where they can just rediscover themselves and they don't need to worry about money during that time. All I ask is that they would help out with the maintenance, with some chores of the place, and just really everyone sharing resources and contributing in community. So those are some dreams that I have that I recognize would require some financial resources to do. So anyway, that's what I'm working on towards next, but it's because of that, and also still not being recognized or fully accepted by some of my family members, that have made it feel like, oh, my story's not complete, it's incomplete, it's not this perfect happy ending. And how can I write this book right now, right? But I realized that it may not ever be perfect. That's likely not going to be the case. It is an illusion. And my family and I, we may not ever really see eye to eye, but it's enough that we are able to connect to as much of an extent as we can and love each other and be there for each other and understand that we do love each other. So I didn't even mention my book name. My book name is called Why You No Doctor Anymore, Honoring Your Family and Yourself Too. So it's really near and dear to my heart, just being able to help out other people who have struggled with these pressures and guilt and shame over filial piety and boundaries and just what is ours, what is theirs, what is anybody's, and also with just finding who our true selves are, what we really, really want from life, who that is inside of us, because we probably were never encouraged or nourished to really come out and develop that muscle for ourselves. So anyways, that was one big thing. And another big thing was that the just how much can I share, really, because I want to protect the privacy of other people who I would write about, but I also don't want to completely censor and silence myself. So where is that healthy line? Because I feel like I'm really taking a stand for all people who have ever silenced themselves before for fear of safety reasons, being outcasted, misunderstood, losing relationships. Just I think that it's been really tricky, and I went through a lot of different conversations and a couple of different editors of just asking where is that line, because I do want this book to really help people, but I don't want it to harm people too, even though I know that it's impossible to please everyone. And it's just, but yeah, what even are the ethics of publishing rights, and how is this different from a blog, which I truly had felt like it's a Kindle book, it's self-published, how is that really different from a blog anyway? But all of these things I really grappled with, and they came up unexpectedly, because I thought the hardest part was really just writing it and and really articulating everything into a comprehensive bundle. Oh, it's 100 pages, which I didn't intend to be, but that's what it ended up being. I'm like, oh, that's a nice, neat number. So, anyways, but yeah, just feeling like, how can I be truthful and complete to honor my full story, but without hurting others? So, in any case, this is what I came up with at the end. I'll include the link to my book on Amazon if you're interested, with this podcast episode in the show notes. So I truly would appreciate you letting me know what you think about it. Total honesty is appreciated. And since it is a Kindle version, we are able to upload updated versions or any edits. So really, please don't hold back. I can take it. I have historically been sensitive to criticism, but I'm really learning that it's more important to improve and, yeah, just to be able to take feedback, because that really is what criticism is at the end of the day. It is a form of feedback. So, any case, just moving into now, how you can get over procrastination yourself. By the way, I apologize if you hear any noise in the background. I am staying in this really lovely Airbnb in Malaysia near the border with Singapore. So I'm actually on the 21st floor. It's really gorgeous. I had the best view the whole time for writing this book. I feel so blessed. And however, I think the traffic, even with the window closed, it can be a little loud. But it's close enough to Singapore that I can go in for day trips. So I've been really excited to meet many online friends for the first time in person in Singapore. Anyway, so procrastination for you. When you think about a huge project that you want to do, it's so daunting. It feels like you have to set aside or like take time off from work or just drop some other responsibilities to make room for this. And I know you've heard it before, chunking it down, breaking it into small bits, just even the smallest bit that you can, really, and even dedicating 5 minutes a day is still progress forward. I completely agree with all of that. I do think, I know for me, I found that it's been hard for me to do something for only 5 minutes, or it can take a lot to really ramp up into starting to write or working on the actual thing. For some people, I've talked to them, it can take them even 30 minutes to ramp up, or even an hour to ramp up. So I think that traditional advice of chunking it down and only give yourself 5 or 10 minutes a day works for some people, but it may not work. It doesn't work for everyone, especially not for neurodivergents or other people, just more unconventional people like me and many other folks. So um, yeah, I would say if you can really figure out what productivity chunk feels good for you, maybe it's having a whole hour if you can, or 30 minutes, or 20 minutes. So just experimenting really and seeing what actually gets done during that time and putting it on your schedule. And I know so many of us put it on and we don't follow it. Even if we set a phone alarm, still we don't stop what we were actually doing to make time for that. I would say for that, really try to eliminate other choices for you or distractions. Maybe go to a library or a co-working space or some office or workplace. You can even go more extreme and lock your phone or computer from the internet for that chunk of time, or use a physical lock box where you just put it in, and no matter what, you can't get your phone out or take anything out until the certain time that you had set it for. Um, Again, just find out what works for you. Number two, the tip, I would say, as I did, set a deadline that feels really compelling and meaningful, like deeply meaningful, to create a good reason for you to get this project done or do this by this date. For me, it was perfect just having Lunar New Year, Dragon Year being the deadline, because 12 years feels like another 12 years feels like such a long time. It's like, I don't even know if I'll still be alive 12 years from now. So it felt painful enough and significant enough of a deadline and a reason to actually go through with it. So that worked for me. But again, your mileage may vary, so please figure out what works for you and honor that. Number three, telling people about it. I did make a couple of posts just saying my book's coming out on this date, this date. And the more people you tell, the more public you can be about it, the stronger the motivation or incentive, or the closer of friends you tell. For my book particularly, or if you can involve them. I would say related to that, number four is if you can involve other people, if you find that motivating, because then you add on the extra layer of you don't want to let other people down or keep them waiting. There was someone who actually offered to edit my book from 2 years ago, and I hadn't even written the outline yet at that point, but he was just like, you have this great story and so much knowledge to share. You really should write a book, and I'm happy to edit it for you because I've edited other people's books. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll hold you to that. And I know for me, that motivates me because other people motivate me, and the energy from other people really gets me out of my own self-doubt, stuck, perfectionistic loops. And I found that even if I can't find collaborators to work together with in the traditional sense on a project, then I can at least involve other people in some other way, such as just having them be a beta reader or beta tester, or just other things. I remember the group program on shame-free sex ed. That was actually because one person had heard about my idea and was just like, Tony, I'm in. Just whatever you make it, I'm signing up for sure. And I was just like, oh my gosh, just knowing that there is at least one person who is just so excited about this, really wants this, that's the motivation I need to create something usually, versus just creating it again, just out of the air or just for myself. It didn't quite feel like enough. So in any case, and then number five, related to that, you can get really extreme with this tip or this strategy is you can actually make a bet with a friend. Make sure it's someone who won't go soft on you though, who will actually hold you to it. You can bet something, you can bet money, or you can bet something else, an action or an item, just play around with that too. Or you can just say, hey, I'm setting aside this money and that friend's going to donate it to someone you hate or your most hated organization or cause or just something like that. And maybe that could really motivate you too. I have not had to use that strategy. I have heard it working for others though. So just, yeah, we'll find out whatever helps you just get out of it, of that procrastination. Aside from, of course, general thought work about it, just on really pinpointing the reasons why you're procrastinating, because your flavor of procrastination is going to be unique to you and will have your own components. That your brain is very, very good at coming up with excuses and reasons to keep you the same as you are now and keep you from trying new things, experiencing new things, growing. I'm very familiar with that. My brain is definitely my worst enemy with a lot of these things. So truly, it's something that it takes time and it takes a lot of deep diving to really figure that out. But once you do, once you really bring them to light, it does take away some of their power. So for many of the reasons that I mentioned, the excuses and the reasons behind them that I talked through, journaling about them, writing about them, sharing them with someone, a friend, a coach, a therapist, a mentor, that really helps, or an accountability partner or group. All of that just really helps you process those reasons, maybe even reveal that those reasons aren't quite as severe or scary or debilitating as you once thought. So I hope this helps, and I'm really excited what kind of projects that you are going to birth or what you are going to do for 2024. A new year just started, and I'd really love to hear what you're working on or what exciting things you have in store for yourself. Feel free to message me, comment on this podcast, or connect on social media or my blog. There are many ways to get in touch, or join my Facebook community, which we have moved over to Mighty Networks as well. That's So the community will be on both Facebook, but for people who don't have Facebook, they can use the Mighty Networks, and both are free. Although the Mighty Networks does have a paid membership, so you can get access to more courses and past event recordings and a bunch of other exclusive stuff. I'm doing it with Leah Burkhart, who is just a lovely gem of a soul. And she runs her community for highly sensitive people, which is a branch of neurodivergence. So we'd really love to see you there. And she does monthly meetups and events as well, with a lot of great content and info. There's a didactics portion and a discussion portion. So in any case, I'll drop the book link below. And again, if you would like to dive deeper with anything or inquire about private coaching or services with me, either one-on-one or in group, feel free to reach out. I'm also going to graduate my relationship coaching certification next month, and I need a couple more couple sessions, just two and then one on one sessions for practice and for the graduation requirement, and those are completely free. So feel free to reach out if you would like one of those spots. All right, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful new year. Hope you're celebrating, hope you're connecting with loved ones, and I'll see you next week.